Perfect.
Tell them to get pictures.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking around for today and joining us on this conversation about is there a future for AI in infrastructure as code? I'm Jess. My background is in technical product management and digital transformation, and I've really been looking forward to this conversation. We've got an incredible group of experts over here with a lot of technical knowledge and very unique perspectives. Unfortunately, Paul got stuck on a flight and won't be able to make it with us today. But let's get started with some introductions. Would love for you to introduce yourself and maybe talk a little bit about how you're currently using AI in your professional life.
Me? What was the question? Name, Viktor, and how you use AI.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like last 4 months or so, I think we are finally at the stage where AI is actually doing more good than bad. And since 4 months ago, I haven't done anything without AI. Now, you might wonder whether I did anything at all. But that's a follow-up question, probably. What was the title of the forum of this panel? No.
Is there a future for AI in infrastructure as code?
Can we change it if there is
It might be
future
late for that.
infrastructure as code in AI?
Sure.
I think that's the backward. Yeah.
That's the one.
Well, thank you, Viktor. You started out with, he's on the first name basis with everyone here. I'm Stefana, also first name basis, Stefana Muller. I work for Salesforce, not by choice, sorry, I said that out loud. Recently acquired, run infrastructure. So just a little bit, I kind of concur with Viktor, what do I not do with AI at work? I wouldn't say that 4 months ago, I know I'm newer to this than you are, but 4 months ago, I wouldn't say that was the case, right? So the situation is I am using Cursor AI for code. And I'm not coding, I'm a VP, I'm not supposed to code, guys. I've been told not to. But I'm using it to actually analyze what my team is doing, what we have, what we don't have, doing some metrics. I use AI for metrics every single day. I'm using Gemini for writing all my emails and any design documents anyone wants me to write. I don't think I do any work anymore, and I think that's the summary.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, then me, my name is Engin, and as you can hear from my way to speak, I'm from Germany and working for Pulumi. And I used AI personally since the beginning of GitHub Copilot. So I was also part of the beta when you could apply for it. So I heavily use it, and then going all the way up now to the state we are currently in. And yeah, that's my background with usage of AI in my daily life.
Awesome. So what would you guys say are some of the big use cases for AI in infrastructure as code right now?
Now I think it can do a similar job like development is doing, vibe coding, right? Kind of, it can generate your Pulumi manifest or Crossplane or Terraform manifest. You can review it, you can say what you like, what you don't like, you know, the typical stuff that you would do in Go or Java or whatever one is doing, right? That's what it is doing today. And it is also very useful today to just ask follow-up questions. There's my cluster, kind of, tell me what's going on, right? Or here's my AWS account, tell me what's running over there, right? Kind of just ask questions, whatever those questions are. That's today. Where we are moving is that eventually, and going back to my reviewed title of this panel, eventually it will replace the tools that we are using, right? It will not be, hey, let me generate this or that format of files. It will be, I want a database. There will be follow-up questions. Where? Which one? And it will just do it.
I concur. I think that, though, now the things that are a challenge with using infrastructure or AI for infrastructure as code or vice versa, is that, you know, a lot of the AI models weren't really prepared for Terraform, if you would. And I know they keep pointing at me for Terraform. I don't represent HashiCorp. I just happen to be a user. Sorry, guys, but I'm not against you. I'm with you. I think the situation is that you can use AI now to support building those manifests that you need for infrastructure, where in the past, I don't think it was really honed for it. Like GitHub Copilot wasn't prepared for that type of code. I also think that it helps delegate down some of the work outside of infrastructure teams, and I don't know if that's a good thing for my team or not. I see Alex back there. He's like, please don't replace me. But basically, it helps delegate down the responsibility to engineering teams, right? We can put some guardrails in place, and now you can delegate down to engineering owners, hey, engineers, you don't need the infrastructure team to write your Terraform, right? Here's the guardrails. They're in the AI tool. You just need to generate the thing. And then it takes my team's time to actually go and make sure they abided by those guardrails, that they didn't break anything. I have to do more governance. So I'd love to get into that more. I don't want to go off the topic, but that's where I see my team shifting as we start delegating down the responsibility with AI. And I think without AI, you're not going to get there, because engineers don't have the time to think about infrastructure. This is why infrastructure teams never went away through the DevOps movement, right? We went through DevOps, and then we built infrastructure teams again, and we called them platform engineers.
Now
right?
you're opening the question of what is DevOps.
No, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. But like basically, we keep building the same teams over because you can't get rid of that expertise. But now with AI, you may be able to give that expertise to the hands of the engineers, and they don't have to be full-on experts to do some of that work. And maybe in the future, all of that work. We've been talking about not having jobs in 10 years, so that's part of it. Sorry, I went off on tangent.
No, I hope that I will have a job and you will not.
Yes.
That's the current plan, yes.
And to add to what you said, because when we released in 2023 during KubeCon Amsterdam, we released our own Pulumi AI, and we saw people using, especially developers, using AI to bootstrap Pulumi projects, because it's programming language, different programming language. So they went to our Pulumi AI page and asked questions and say, hey, how do I create an EKS cluster? How can I deploy a Helm chart in Pulumi? And the AI system, because it was also fed via clever engineering work of our documentation, it gave them as much as information to bootstrap. Or our customer experience teams, they used our own AI system to recreate cases we had at customers. So the customer said, hey, there's an issue there, an error there. So they created inside the Pulumi AI system. So it helped really to speed up, to give developer teams or platform engineering teams something in the hand to quickly scaffold something and work on it. And internal teams to, as you said, also analyze error messages and so on, because the system has a much more broader knowledge than a single person has, for example. So really nice use case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Stefana, I wanted to come back to something you were talking about with product teams. And how do you see maybe that relationship between product and platform teams changing in the future if they're able to do so much more than they're able to do now, but still needing to have that level of governance? What do you think that might look like?
I think that, I have this vision, but we haven't seen it really come to fruition yet, right? So I want to keep that in mind. It's not there yet. There's some key, can I call them 10x engineers? Is that terrible? I hate that word, sorry. I had to use it on stage.
It was wrong before, but now it makes sense.
Worse. Okay, but basically, you get one or two of them, right? You get one or two people who really understand the full stack, and that's because they worked in a data center way back when, and now they're a software engineer. So, those guys, they're few and far between, right? I think that the difference now is that, in my company at Salesforce, and I joked before, but I do love working there. They're actually pretty good to me, so I should be happy. They're having me shift the responsibility to service ownership. And I use that terminology pretty loosely because there's layers of service ownership. But basically they're saying, hey, engineers have to own prod, right? This DevOps thing that you keep talking about, it really needs to be that way, right? You can't just have this DevOps team that owns prod. So those service owners can't really own the infrastructure layer if they don't have the expertise. And I think you can't expect them to up-level if they're also running 100 miles per hour on features. I can't imagine them writing Python one moment and figuring out Terraform the next and trying to remember all the places that Terraform code should go, or how to generate that Helm chart, or where the variables are. I don't know. It takes me hours, and I am embedded in that code. So now actually doesn't take me hours anymore. So I think the thing is it speeds things up, it enables service ownership, and then you don't have to own all of the nitty-gritty components for each application. That requires our platform teams to level up to be that governance arm, that arm that helps you figure out how to test your stuff, how to adopt the new tools that are out there to really, truly be platform engineering that we've been talking about for a few years now. Sorry, I went off on a tangent, but I hope that that gave some answers. Anyone else?
What we also saw, for example, with the customers is infrastructure as code starts to evolve. You start to add stuff in it and so on and so on. So it also becomes a point where you build up some architectural depth and then you're like, okay, how does it work? Coming now with the latest tools like, for example, Cloud Code into the system and asking the system like, analyze please the existing code and give me points to improve or points to refactor is also something where I really helps legacy application code and of course, not legacy, but some grown technical depth infrastructure code. So that's also, you should give it a try, go to your database, go to your repository and let it run through Cloud Code, for example, and let it analyze it. And then maybe attaching some interesting MCPs to it to say, hey, here's an MCP to some Terraform documentation, Pulumi documentation, cross-plane documentation, and see if it still aligns to the best practices the vendor is giving or the company. So that's something really cool, and I highly encourage everybody to give it a try.
The problem there is that the tools that we are mentioning, like Terraform, Pulumi, Crossplane, are designed to be abstractions of provider APIs, like AWS, because for us as humans, it's too complicated to work with CURL to send requests to AWS API, right? It's just too silly. So we created abstractions that allow us to better manage that communication with that API. Similarly, we created languages that are also acting as abstraction that becomes binary code executed on machines, right? Now, if AI is doing that work for us, does it need those abstractions? Does it need abstractions like that? That's the first question. And if it does need abstractions like that, are those the same abstractions that we are using? Right? I know that I'm getting philosophical here, but I'm trying to understand, and I'm moving forward. A year from now, 5 years, I don't know how many, kind of like, and I'm asking a very simple question. Does AI managing my resources ultimately to AWS API need any of us? Like I'm putting everybody under the bus here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm not having a job tomorrow, just to be 100% clear. Right? But does it?
So the thing is, the state becomes the memory of your agentic, for example, to say, okay, let's do it like this, and then keep telling, because then agentic is already reconciling and testing the stuff with it. Say, okay, let's continue on this approach. So I give you now my, I talked about this golden AI path. We talk about golden paths. To say, okay, here's now my prompt, which is creating some infrastructure. Create this because you know everything best, either through MCPs or communicating with the APIs, and also take care of the reconciling and keep this in memory and then check on the stuff. Yeah, that's interesting.
You also have to consider that, that you just said, there needs to be template prompts because the AI is only as smart as much you tell it. It doesn't read your mind, right? This is the key thing.
It needs prompts, it needs memory, it needs guardrails, it needs a lot of things.
Because my biggest concern is that the AI hallucinates, and I'm going to use that a little loosely as a term, and it builds the wrong thing or it forgets a certain control, and then I keep going back to governance. I sound like I'm in GRC, I apologize, but basically I am concerned it's going to go deploy something without considering the rules, and that has happened. Still, in this current state, it happens often.
100%.
Right?
Now, here's a comment on that, right?
He's still getting rid of my job. Do you see it?
It's hallucinating less over time.
Yes.
And I would argue that actually I know people, maybe people I've worked with, who knows, that are actually hallucinating more than AI is hallucinating right now.
I agree. Okay.
Kind of like,
you're convincing me.
I mean, it's not that we are not making mistakes.
True.
So I guess to that end, or do you think there are currently or possibly in this semi-dystopian future any areas where you would not want AI to be in control, or someplace where you'd always want a human to be in the loop? I'm gonna go first.
I mean, the thing is, when we create now agentic workflows, we can still put a human in the loop. So that's a thing, so still taking care that maybe some things has to be approved before it gets automatically rolled out. That could be something to be still. But I think, and I'm also a little bit on Viktor's side to say, okay, we will see a lot of more that agentic AI will be really active more into the things and taking more stuff. So it could be the case that one day when we get a little bit of the hallucinations, reduce them, for example, that we maybe set them also to autopilot and say, okay, it can maybe change the stuff because we have everything in place, the template is well defined, everything evolved, and we can be sure that it doesn't come up with some crazy stuff and so on, because it has access to best practices, to guidelines, to landing zones, to existing code examples, that the way we created then our template. So I talked about this before also. We made a joke about prompt engineer. It was a joke like, hey, I become a prompt engineer. This is reality now. Now really creating nice prompts is like creating good code. So people who will manage now to write good prompts, make them repeatable prompts and give as much as information, this will be very successful. So it's not a joke anymore, prompt engineer.
That's similar to product owners, right? Some product owners have a single sentence, kind of like, I need new feature.
Right.
And some product owners would create a PRD like this, right? Humans. It's the same thing with prompts. Same thing. We cannot kind of, oh, I want a new feature, and kind of, oh, you did a horrible job. Doesn't matter whether it's AI or human. Kind of, you're going to do a horrible job.
But if you also think about it, I know going off the tangent on product owners, right? Product owners are really good often at describing their work.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, feel that, and taking it in stride, most engineers are not really good at giving all the information. So this is the transition towards AI that we are fully embraced in today requires advancement in how engineers are taught, right? Prompt engineering is a key thing. How they are taught to document their stuff, think about their stuff rather, and maybe it's the pre-documentation of what they want to build, like describing their requirements really clearly. I also think that there's an area of concern right now, and maybe not in the future, with newer engineers using AI to code. And it's not because they're not good at prompts. They might be good at prompts, but they're not good at error checking the AI, right? So I find a lot of times I will ask the AI a question thinking I asked the prompt really well and realize I didn't get what I wanted. And I will often go, hey, you forgot this. I'm talking to the AI like it's my best friend, in case you're wondering. She's great, but sometimes she's tired at night. And sometimes she removes all my facts from the information, right, which stresses me out.
But you are clearly one of the winners of the thing. So let's think about with the AI and the way we talk now.
Congratulations.
I'm a winner.
You won.
I won.
No, but the thing is, the cards are completely new mixed. You know, now everybody, we have the democratization of the thing. Like people who can write very well specifications,
Yes.
they can use them and feed the system. So you are now also able, when you write also tests and say what are your expectations of the output, and you can describe them well because you are used to this with the user story, whatever, you can also now do stuff where you need before maybe an engineer with 10 certificates on AWS and whatever. So I think people who are already used to create good descriptions are
good at
really
that.
good winner. I'm very bad, you know, socially a little bit challenged. You know, I also like hey, simple stuff. And I found out when we worked on the templates, like we need not to say, like you said, a VNet. I want a VNet which is public available, which has a site. You know what I mean? So getting more into the details, and then the system has a very good chance. So yeah, my observation.
That also means that actually, apart from the ability to write more than a single sentence, experience comes into play.
I think so.
That means that actually one might be getting infinitely better result than somebody else who just finished university, right? Because I don't know what to ask. I want a database, kind of, I don't know whether there is a PostgreSQL and MySQL, right?
But Victor, where do you get the experience? Working with others? This is how we currently get experience. We do Stack Overflow dives, right? But we also work with senior engineers as a newbie to learn how they learned, right? And that pairing I don't think that really goes away in the near term. I think that's really even more important as we have newer engineers using AI in their day-to-day. Because I will tell you, I've had newer engineers use AI to generate code, and they don't know what to ask. And they're missing half the components, and they don't know what's out there already. I think that's where we have a big gap, right? They don't know the legacy that we all unfortunately gave them, right?
Yeah.
Because we gave them this negative code base.
That's something we also talk when people come to the booth and say, which tool should I use? Terraform, Pulumi, whatever.
Well,
Crossplane.
according to this panel, I'm supposed to say Terraform.
Yeah, but then we say also like, okay, you still need to learn the cloud. Whatever tool you are using, you still need to know what it's doing. So something, I mean, my daughter, for example, she recently started now to using ChatGPT also to learn. So maybe in the future I ask ChatGPT also, you know, generic questions like a model which is good in reasoning to say, hey, I want to do this stuff. And he has access to AWS documentation, give me a proposal, and then I switch the model or go to a next one, say, okay, now spit out the code. So
it's a multi-step process today, but I can imagine you're thinking future, it might not be, right? I'm sorry, we went off the panel.
You know,
we are now chatting. That's the new panel.
I think that what we will see very, very soon, so future, but very, very near future, is roles that we haven't thought of before. There will be people, because, oh, now we're losing jobs, right? But there are roles like people will be creating specialized agents, not buying one, right? People will be creating, we were talking about guardrails, about memory, about instructions, about kind of, it's not that you go in a supermarket and buy AI. Kind of, somebody will take ready-to-go components and then a bunch of other things, just as what we're doing with platforms today, right? Kind of like, oh, what do you do with platform? You choose one of those 3 tools, and you choose, I don't know, Argo CD or Flux, but then you combine it and put a bunch of your stuff, and then that becomes a platform, right? That's before AI. The story is the same. It's going to be exactly the same. You will be, the difference is that you will not be coding an application, you'll be coding agent that codes application, which is a very different type of skill.
Yeah, so, you know, as we're kind of running up on time, I think it's a
Oh,
great...
we have a time limit?
We don't think of time.
Ignore that thing.
Tell the AI to remind us.
Right, the buzzer. So we have a lot of folks here who are working currently in platform engineering, right? So as AI starts to change the role quickly as final thoughts, how do you know, we've already decided that all our jobs are gone, but what do you think folks should do to prepare for this new future?
I have the answer. ChatGPT told me.
Yeah, let's just go.
They really did. I was saying it was pretty good. I like this statement.
Can you ask it to read it for you?
Yes, I will.
Don't read it yourself.
The key to the shift is from being a pure builder to being an enabler, which I think is a really good statement. I like that statement, and I didn't want to take credit for ChatGPT because she's been doing a great job with me lately, and I want to give her credit, just like I would any other employee on my staff.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, to add on this, I mean, we got a lot of people now in this new time are like, okay, what should we do? What I always tell to the people is, find a way to make yourself valuable in the new world. So I talked last week with a customer and also presented him the AI stuff. I said to him, listen, don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. So find out how to introduce AI in your company, own the domain of this, start to do some trials around this, so you become somebody inside the company people come to ask around this, because otherwise, somebody else will do this. So try to learn, try to visit stuff and say, okay, how I'm going to own this topic, because maybe you have the chance in the company, because you're still exploring it, to be the expert around this. So yeah. That was something I told the person.
Yep. I'll go quickly, but basically my number one is use it first, just like you had said. Use it every day. Make a reason to use it, because you're going to get better at prompt engineering. You're going to get better at asking the AI chatbots or whatever tools you're using the right questions. I think that's how you transform yourself into that expert that can help others. I also think if you're in platform engineering today, you should be figuring out how you can speed up your work with AI. It shouldn't just be using it to use it, right? The idea is, how do you level up? You can define that. Your bosses don't know yet how to do it, right? I think it's really important to consider that you might be able to frame what your future looks like. And that's the new roles that we're talking about, right? We can come up with a new title tomorrow, but basically, you're gonna have 4 or 5 different new roles in the next year. Maybe you can build that.
Yeah.
I think that actually we, like software engineers of any kind, are in a very, very privileged position. Everybody's afraid I'm gonna lose job. Everybody will be, if we start losing jobs, everybody else will be losing jobs. Let's start with that, kind of lawyers and whatever else roles. But we're in a unique position that if everybody is going to be AI user, there will be 2 types of roles, right? You're using AI to do something, whatever that something is, or you're building that AI, right? And we are in a very unique position compared to the rest of the planet, kind of like we can be not only users, which everybody will be, but also people who are actually building that stuff, right? And that's very privileged. That doesn't matter whether we're talking about platform engineering now or Go developer or all that.
Yeah, that's great insight. So I think kind of
It was the most disillusioned comment I heard so far.
it's the most what?
Yours.
Ah.
Oh yeah, that's.
She ran out of time. She was like, I'm
just
trying.
trying to get us wrapped up before they cut our mics. Well, thanks everybody so much. I think some of the big takeaways that I've taken from this is that our kind of current roles may not exist, but new roles might come out of this new future, and that we'll see a lot less about being kind of the code monkey and integrator and more about our ability to discern and make connections and governance around our platforms. So thank you so much to you guys, and thank you so much for being here. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you.